Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Will the city recorder please call roll?
Mayor Jacola,
Present?
Council President Steinhebel. Here. Councilor Dykstra,
Here.
Councilor Mann,
Here.
Councilor Salvage,
Here.
Councilor Roofers,
Here.
Councilor Workman.
All righty. The following, we'll move into consent calendar. Following items are considered routine and will be acted by one motion. There will not be a separate discussion into these items unless the councilor so requests. In this case, items will be removed from the consent calendar and considered separately. Agenda, Lebanon City Council Agenda, February 14th, 2024. Appointments, Budget Committee, Dominic Conti and Robert Waterhouse. Council meetings, 2024-01-10. Regular and executive session meetings, 2024-01-24. Work session meetings, and easement of utilities for U.S. Bank. Is there a motion?
Move to approve. Second.
Motion's been made to approve. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion to approve has passed. First up tonight, we have a presentation from the Lebanon Chamber of Commerce.
Good evening. Thank you guys for letting us present tonight. Rebecca Grizzle, the CEO of the Lebanon Chamber of Commerce, and I have with me Angie Cooch, who is our board chair at this time and is also the chair of our tourism committee. So here to answer any questions you might have after we're done with our presentation. So we're here tonight because we all know our building was destroyed in, well, mostly destroyed in March of last year. And so that began a long and painful process of redesign, rethinking that space. It's pretty extensive damage that has to be repaired. We hit our maximum as far as what we're going to be able to get from insurance, and made some decisions that precipitated some other changes in the building. So I'm going to start with this. I don't know if you have seen this video or not. I'm assuming it's playing right here. We go. And there goes that wall. So you can see here, he's taken out this wall. The construction of the building is cinder blocks. It actually took most of that wall and kind of shifted the wall this way. The wall, as you approach, shifted that wall. So those two walls are completely destroyed. Which precipitates some other inside walls being removed.
He didn't wait around.
What's
I'm
that?
kidding. Nothing.
Oh, yeah, you can see they were speed racing, and that guy was the loser.
Okay.
He lost. Anyway, so that began our process of redesign. Eventually, we vacated the building because it was determined that it wasn't safe. Those two walls right now are not necessarily stable. So we moved out. Thank you, Trey, for putting us up in his building for a few months. He's really anxious to get us out of there. So as you can see, this is a kind of a rough rendering of what the new visitor center will look like. Visitor Center, Chamber of Commerce. The roof will stay the same, but those two walls are different. Oh, can you get?
Where's the front door?
I don't know what that noise is.
I think they're putting up the ramp for the train.
Oh,
Probably
okay. Do
cranking it up.
you want me to wait?
Where's the front door?
Where's the front door? Okay. So in between those two pillars is the center of that of the window structure. There is the door. So we're working on that. That's actually a little bit offset from where the current front door is. So I don't have. Does this have a pointer? The top. Yeah. So the center panel in between those, that's the whole point of those pillars is to delineate. Even now when you approach, because you park on this side and that's where the parking is, it's a little bit, because there's a door on the side, people think that's the front door. So this will be a little bit easier to delineate in between the two pillars. That's visually what those pillars are for. The pillars are going to be cedar. The siding is going to be cedar. One of the things we are trying to accomplish in this building redesign is to honor the timber industry in town. So what we have right now, what we have had is the 1950s DMV. Did anybody here get their driver's license? Ron? Did you get your driver's license there? My husband did in the 70s. He got his license there. So in the 1980s, then, it became the Chamber and Visitor Center. But it's only ever had kind of a little bit of lipstick put on it, a little bit of carpet, but it wasn't designed to be a visitor center. And largely, our physical presence, that's what we are. We are answering when people are coming through town. We're giving out new welcome neighbor packets. We're largely dealing with tourists coming through, people coming for the train. The train brings a lot of people to town, generates a lot of phone calls. We want to honor the timber industry with the siding. Let's see. This is a shot of the interior. So there you can see the door pull on that middle panel. And off to the right, you can see a little bit of what we are. The chamber right now sits on what was briefly Native American land granted by Jeremiah Ralston. It was Native American land long before. Then when it was settled, Jeremiah Ralston owned that property. He granted it to our local Kalapuya Indian tribe for about 5 years. They had about a 5-year stay before they were marched up to the Grand Ronde. And so we want to honor the Native history. Our local Kalapuya tribe. So we want to have about a 4 to 6 foot section of like honoring, like when you stop by here, here we honor the people who were here before us. So that's a kind of an expensive prospect that we're looking at. But here you can see they come in. There is it's less of just wall-to-wall brochures. That Lebanon, where you can see the Lebanon logo, the Lebanon Chamber Visitor Center logo, that will be a screen that will scroll by different events happening, that it will mostly, I would say, events, businesses, whatever we're honoring at the time, Merry Christmas, whatever that is. And then a little seating area. And then there will be glass dividers, and then you can see there's no longer a door where that other screen is, so that's the meeting room area. Where that screen is obviously another monitor for those kinds of purposes. It'll be for meeting purposes. But you can see a little better display, and we really want to do that a little beefier. This was Marianne Ewing from Beach Hill Studios put together. She puts like some native baskets and some things that it won't look exactly like that. It's just a rough rendering. So I said we got our, we couldn't really pencil any numbers out until we got our bids back. And so we went with our very lowest bid. Our next lowest bid was about, was it $80,000 more than that? So this will be a local contractor, a Lebanon contractor. We figure at just rough estimate about $25,000 to furnish, another $20,000 for our cultural display, 20% contingency. You can see on this project we're at about 116 deficiency, minus the contingency possibly, but you never know when you dig into a project where you're going to end up needing something. So we just don't have any resources for that at this time. And let me say about this too, when we redesigned, there are some things that we did because, I don't know if you've ever used a restroom in the visitor center. It's from the 1950s. So we knew the right thing to do was to take those two tiny restrooms and make one ADA accessible restroom. They're very inaccessible. So we're widening that. That precipitates moving another wall, actually two walls. One of the walls we have to move has an electrical panel, and that precipitates rewiring the whole building because all of the electricity is sunk into the concrete. So a lot of these things are just the right thing to do, but they're very expensive. Becomes a very expensive project. And then, of course, you may have known we did get a $50,000 grant to put a back patio on. So that does leave us as a deficiency to do that right as well. So we need to resurface, do a back patio. We have a committee that begins meeting this Friday. We don't have any hard numbers. We have one small bid. We don't have hard numbers on that yet, but the estimate right now is to about 80,000 fencing, furnishing, and labor. So we estimate that to be at about another $60,000 deficiency, 65. I should say 65. So with that, we come to you because you have the purse strings for tourism funds, and you're sitting on around about 200,000 in tourism funds. So having spoken with our board and the tourism committee, we are requesting that 100 of that 170 that we are about roughly deficit come from your current tourism money. And to be clear, that cannot be spent on, just you guys know, but the general public may not know. That money is specifically for tourism-related monies. It comes from the transient room tax, from hotels. It's not like that money can put another cop on the street. I want to be very clear because I know times are tough. And so I want to be very clear that we're asking just for 100 of that. That will leave us in a deficiency, and the county has fairly well agreed to cover the rest of that. They have it is not a tourism fund, but they have a fund that matches the purpose of this. And so they have said, all right, come to us. If the city will cover the first 100, then we'll make you good the rest of the project. So that is my ask. And I open it up for questions. You look like you have a question. But I'm happy to answer
Have a
questions
question right now.
of myself or Angie, if there's anything you want to add.
I have a question.
Sure.
With the county, is it contingent that we
No,
award 100,000 for them to act, or?
no,
Okay.
not necessarily. And they have not taken an official vote. So I need to be really clear how I phrase that. But I feel very good about the county covering that. So that I would not be coming back to you for additional funds after this.
Remind me, what's that amount then the county would be covering if we chip in 100?
Probably about 70.
Okay.
That's the estimate at this point.
Any other questions from council?
Rebecca, do you know, you kind of keep an eye on this tourism fund, do you know how many years it's taken us to build up 200,000?
Not long. Ron, do you know how that, you guys get a pretty good chunk?
Yeah, I'm not sure what we're collecting yearly, Brandon. Do you?
For 2023, we collected just under 300,000 in that fund. And that goes to cover a couple of contracts and some grants that we currently do. And then, yes, we have a fund balance there.
Okay. All right.
Any other questions?
We really are excited about the project, and I think that we are going to end up with a product and a building that we're all going to be very proud of for a long time. We have taken great pains to think through this project so that 15, 20 years from now, we still have something that when people come to town, they're excited. If an industry is coming to town and they stop in to visit with us, they think Lebanon's really got their act together. So it makes a good impression.
Real quick, can you remind me the hours for, I remember there was discussion at one point of having Saturdays open. Are you going to still be open on Saturdays or half days, or is that
No,
going to be gone?
we are closed on Saturdays, but we will open on Saturdays I think per our contract, at the pleasure of council. So when there's something major going on, and we said we'll open Saturday for Strawberry Festival. That's obviously a time when people are coming through. But if there were ever something going on and this body wanted us to be open on a Saturday to say, hey, we really feel like, it just didn't pencil out. When we were getting maybe one person and staying open for 8 hours. Just on a day-to-day basis, it's a little silly. Somebody's just in there reading a book.
Okay.
We're not that type of tourism town, but we're happy to accommodate special events.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Well, I would like to thank you for your presentation,
Okay, thank you.
and it gives us food for thought, and we'll be thinking about it.
Yeah, this, I believe, would require a budget amendment.
I don't know if it's appropriated this year, but it would definitely require some form of action from the council. If council so desires, we could bring something back in March for you guys to vote on if you'd like. I'll
It
leave
would
that.
be
Okay.
great to have a feeling of like, I mean, we have decisions to make, so that puts us in a, it would be great to know sooner than later. So I don't know what the process goes from here that you could discuss it.
I have one question. Does this get you out of my office faster?
Yes, Trey.
So on Trey's behalf, we should bring this back in March as some kind of a decisioning
April or
process
May, somewhere in that neighborhood.
of next year?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do we have consensus that this is something we want to do? I think that's what Rebecca is kind of
I
getting
am
at.
looking for at
Yes.
least a good, solid consensus.
I think
and-
my feeling on it is because that money that we're talking about can only be used for this type of thing. I'm okay using the money for what it's intended for. It's not like we can use it in another area of the general budget. It's dedicated towards tourism, and this seems like a good application for that. So I'm for it.
I agree.
Yeah, I would agree also. And I appreciate your question on how long does it take to refill that bucket? Because that's not something I'd ever known. So it sounds like we're not emptying the coffers and it'll take us 3 years to get back.
Right. I was cognizant to not ask you for all of it, and or use some of what we have. We are the tourism committee is sitting on a little bit of a balance, but we're heading into a season where that they give that money out in grants, and so that money will start flying out the door really quickly to really great causes and events in Lebanon that will put heads in beds, and the circle goes around. So, okay.
Then I would imagine March, we're bringing it
Yeah,
back
we'll
up for
bring
reconsideration.
back either a resolution or just motion. Brandon and I will look at it, probably motion, huh? Or do you think we need a resolution?
Just a motion. There's budget allocated already,
Okay.
should you choose to
Yeah.
use it for that.
Just for auditing purposes, that way we can track where it went and
Okay.
it was approved.
Thank
Okay.
you all so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Julie, did we have any cards? Okay. Next section is usually public comments. We don't have any right now, so I'm just going to move past that. We'll go into regular session, budget adjustments. Brandon, you want to give your staff report?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, City Council. So before you is a budget adjustment for a couple of items. The first one is in our court office. We anticipate, based on current expenditures and year-end estimates, that court will likely slide past their budget authorization for the year, primarily due to the changes in the contract for the municipal court judge. So if you'll remember back to, I think we did it in June, we approved a contract with the judge that moved him from a more of a personal services contract to an actual employee with the city in line with, excuse me, IRS guidelines. That has created some additional expenditures that we did not, when we had built the budget, plan for, because we had not planned for him to be an employee. So we are picking up things like some additional PERS costs. We have the taxes that we're required to pay. So we're looking to, with this adjustment, to take some of the money out of contract services where he was originally budgeted from, and then the remainder to pick up the extra costs to come from the contingency line. So no additional authorization for budget, just reallocating what's already been approved and adopted by the council. The second adjustment, let's see, where am I? Oh, it's actually for your budget. Again, related to PERS, so we have done some due diligence in our office and have gone through some PERS reconciliations, and there have been some changes we've had to make related to counselors. Since you are employees, PERS requires that if you are a PERS employee elsewhere, we have to also pay a contribution. So there are some at this table that are public employees in other places. And so we've had to add those PERS costs. So again, we are seeking an adjustment out of the contingency to cover those additional PERS costs for the year that were not planned for currently. So I can certainly answer any questions if you have them, and thank you for the time.
Is that the 30,000?
The 30,000 is for the overall adjustment for the municipal court, and then it's $6,500 for the council adjustment.
Is it the PERS contract that says that the city councilors are employees?
That's also been an IRS determination in the past for lots of cities. There was some history behind that when I was at my previous employer that made counselors city employees.
I still struggle with it. I mean, we had the same discussion with the city judge, and
Right.
I don't agree with the way they're defining employees, but.
Yeah, the IRS website specifically highlights counselors and municipal court judges and city attorneys as well.
Kind of.
Our difference here is that we're contracting with a company for the city attorney services more than just an employee. So that's the reason we
I
get to
could
keep that
argue
one.
with you, but I won't.
You could, yeah.
But I
Mhm.
understand that the safe way is probably to do it this way.
Yeah.
I have a question for the city attorney. Can the 3 members of this body that receive PERS vote on that?
Oh,
Vote on, oh, I see, is a conflict of interest.
Well, you're not voting, think about that.
That's a good question.
Well, I don't think you're voting,
It doesn't set your financial compensation when you retire. So I wouldn't say this decision is.
it's really no different than when you pass a budget that has your stipends in it.
True.
Okay.
You're not giving yourself a raise.
Right.
Basically, you're being told that you have to get PERS if you are going to serve, and we need to include that in the budget. So had this been included in the original budget, it would be no different than your stipend with PERS. So yes.
Okay. I still don't love it.
I don't either. Vote no.
I don't see that there's enough votes otherwise.
Well, I think at that point, if there's abstentions, then it just comes down to who is voting, I think.
I think it leaves it to Wayne and I.
No, you have the mayor too.
Hmm?
You have the mayor.
Doesn't vote unless there's a tie.
Well, to be clear, what you're being advised is if you vote no, we're going to be in violation of our of potential
Okay.
employment liability issues. which again,
Ultimately-
I think I would successfully argue in court, but to avoid that, you're being told that we should do this, and it's not a very much amount of
So
money.
a little twist to that, I would say that if the council decided to vote no to this budget adjustment, then really what it would mean is we need to meet the existing budget authority within the means that we have already established. So we would try to control costs in other places within the mayor and council budget instead of reducing. We're going to pay the PERS costs regardless because of the state statutes and the requirements therein. But it would just mean that we'd have to live within our current means, so to speak.
So what you're saying is the council would be voting on if they want to adhere to the statute.
Budget rules, essentially.
rules, yeah.
Yeah.
Not really. I see what your concern is, but I think it's just, we're voting on, the council will be voting on the process.
Yeah.
So. That makes
That's,
sense.
that's fine. I just wanted to note my concern, and I think with the city attorney's advice, I feel comfortable voting on it, I guess. Because I do understand, yeah, you're right. If it were just in the regular budget document and already in there, it would just be like council budget. So that makes sense to me.
Is there any other questions of staff?
Do we vote on that tonight?
Any other questions? Are you ready to read? Will the city attorney read the title of the resolution? Here, you want to read?
Resolution number 2024-02, a resolution authorizing supplemental budget for the city of Lebanon 2023-24 budget.
Zoom. See the red light.
I think I had it on. Maybe I wasn't close enough. All right. Did you get it? All right.
I'll move for approval.
Second.
Motion's been made to approve. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion to approve the resolution has passed. On to the next item, Public Defender's Contract Renewal. Brandon, will you please fill us in?
Hello again. Before you is a contract renewal for the existing public defender. In discussing this renewal with court staff and the judge, the court is happy with the services currently provided by the Public Defender's Office. We have contracted, I think the last agreement was for a three or 4 year term. I can't remember which, but an extended term such as this one. This contract does have a slight increase from 22,000 annually to 26,000 annually. They were locked in at the 22,000 for the last 4 years that they had this contract. So a small increase over that 4 year period, and needs your blessing before we can move forward.
Just for 4 years more.
Yes.
And just from my perspective, I talked with Judge Meyer in Justice Court as well, because Mr. Mueller appears in her court in Justice Court, and he appears in Albany City Court where Jesse is as well. And he does a very good job. He's economical, he fights when he needs to fight, but he understands that there's a bigger process and need involved to make sure we get people, in and out. And also I would remind everybody that you've probably read the stories, sometimes public defenders are hard to find, so we don't want to be out there looking for one. Not that anybody was questioning it, but he does a good job and I think a reasonable compensation, and he's reliable, so.
I need to make one small adjustment. It's a 2 year contract. My apologies. It's for 2024 to 2026.
Is there any other questions of staff? Wayne, did you have a question that you asked?
He answered it.
What was the question? Just so we,
It was for 4 years.
oh, okay.
He said yes, but then he modified and said 2.
Okay, thank you. All righty, if there's no other questions, is there a motion?
Move to approve.
I'll second that.
Motion's been made to approve. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion to approve is passed. Next item, Lebanon School District Outdoor Maintenance Agreement by our esteemed city manager.
I don't know how esteemed I am, but thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and City Council. What we have before you here tonight is the IGA for the outdoor maintenance agreement that we have with the Lebanon School District. You're probably wondering why we just got it now. This started back on July 1. It took the school district a while to get the agreement to us. We received it on the 29th, signed. What we're asking is that you agree to this signature on this tonight for this year. Should also be noted that they have sent a letter, which is attached, I believe, in your packet, that they will no longer be using our services. They are going to do the maintenance on their own from this point forward. So that is their plan. That brought in $155,000 basically into the general fund for parks people. And so that will no longer be there. But we are down two positions in parks right now, so, which I don't think we have any intention of hiring this year. So with that, I'm available to answer any questions.
So the motion on this would be to finish out this year?
Yes.
And, okay,
The other piece of it is just information only.
okay. Is there any other questions of staff? Is there a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion's been made to approve. It's been seconded. All in favor? The motion passes. Okay, next item. This is a quick meeting tonight.
Okay.
I will just say that's kind of nice sometimes. City manager report. Ron.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You'll probably notice that the city manager report looks a little bit different this time. Julie had requested, which I think was a great request of all the department directors, to put their manager's report on their own letterhead, save them some time in their office from compiling all that. It also gives you places where you can kind of make the break. If you started reading through that other report, it kind of all ran together after a while. So you've got a break in that. So that's different here tonight. I guess I want to ask is there too much information, not enough information in this report?
I like it the
what is
way,
your
I
guys'
like the amount of
guys'
information we get.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
it's good.
same here.
Okay. We will continue to do that as is. I won't go through anything else in the report, really. I got a couple other things. Strategic plan consultant update. We've sent letters out to, I'll probably get this wrong. I think it's 3 or 4 different firms, and I've been entertaining questions from said firms. They've got to have their proposal to us by the end of March, and we will then from there kind of take a look at those. Probably select one from that group. There's one particular group that does this quite frequently that we've met with, and I think the goal would be to start this sometime late June, early July, and be prepared to implement any change or whatever we've got that comes out of this for the next fiscal year budget. So that's progressing along. The budget process is moving along on schedule. We're still going to hit that April date. Department directors have to have all of their budgets for next year in by Friday of this week. So we're working on that and got a good jump on it. The other thing that I was kind of penciling through today was work sessions coming up. Probably look at March or April for a utilities update work session, state of the utilities, where we typically do every year in that time frame. And then late spring, early summer is when we'd like to start in on the budget work sessions with you all, not necessarily pertaining to this upcoming fiscal year, but kind of in tandem with the 5-year strategic plan. So keep those on your radar. We've kind of are working at it at that schedule. So with that, I can answer any questions that you may have.
Just one quick question, with the train here tonight. Is there any update on the conversations with, I can't remember, the Santiam excursion trains and the possibility of moving to the library?
Yes, so what we've done so far, in fact, I could have brought them tonight. We have drawings that show, I had one of my staff put kind of a 2D, 3D model together using these tables in the library with a layout. And then we're waiting on some prices for the IT equipment, and we're waiting on prices for what a new dais would be. And once we have those, then we'll kind of start those negotiations and feel that out. One of the options that we do have ARPA funds, COVID money left, which would be eligible to be used for all the IT equipment at the library that's going to have to be upgraded. A lot of this stuff in here is kind of reaching its end of use. So we would take what we can, but we'd probably end up purchasing a lot of new equipment with that. So that's money that's specifically used for, they had some specific uses for that. So that's one idea. I don't think, Brandon and I both agree that probably wouldn't be able to be used for a dais. So we would need to either A, continue on with these, or B, find a way to budget for a new dais, and we're looking into somewhere in the neighborhood of probably 30,000, I'm guessing for that. So nothing set in stone, but yes, that is moving forward.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? All righty. Move into items from council. Any items that councilors want to bring up?
I just want to thank the city manager. We had, over at our apartments, we had some homeless that were storing stuff on the sidewalk that got to be the size of a building. And boy, lickety split, he went and saw it, and the next day, people were out there hauling it out. It was great.
I would have to say that our code enforcement team and our community resources team, Dayla and Dave, usually by the time I've seen it or you guys bring it to my attention, they're about 2 weeks on it. So they're out and they're looking, and they are on the ball with all this stuff. So kudos to them.
Yep. I also want to thank the police department. It's been a challenging month, this last month. It's not often that I get to see Frank out in front of my house at 6:30 in the morning. But they handled everything so well that folks didn't even know what was going on. We had one of our homeless start throwing rocks through our church window and then took out the Keller Williams front glass door. And thanks to some tape and some good local knowledge, they already know who did it. So, I mean, they're really on top of things, and I just can't say enough, and you deserve it. So, thank you. And no cookies this time.
Any more items from council? All righty. Okay, we'll move into, there wasn't any public comments earlier. We didn't get any cards, but if there's someone that's changed their mind and wants to speak to the council, address the council now, here's your opportunity. No? All righty. How about the press? Okay. All righty. Wow.
Yeah,
Is this a record?
pretty, since I've been coming
No,
to this.
I guess we're not out of here yet, so. Next council meeting will be March 13th, 2024.